even start? Well, after washing machines, after the mighty shovels, the Russians have used a new cheat code. Are you ready? Turtle tanks. That's right, they're now attacking Ukrainian positions with T-72s wrapped up in huge cages. More on that in a minute. And by the way, you're not the only ones interested in knowing what's actually happening on the front lines.
Мы хотели сказать большое спасибо шахлам за то, что они носят желтый повязок. Да, их очень видно. Да, их очень видно.
Now, see the sarsaparilla bottles on the fence there? Take this and try to hit a couple of them.
Если он показывает удар, и тут же на карте отмечает, где он будет. Вот, видишь? Камертон, что это? Это те, что...
That's the right idea. Look down the side.
Помогает, куда мы его смотрим. Братан, канал Legend History.
Welcome to History Legends, and here are the latest news of the Russo-Ukrainian War. If you're new to the channel, make sure to like and subscribe. As you know, some of my Ukraine videos have been targeted with limited or no ads. So make sure to check out my Patreon or PayPal to keep the show running. Thank you to everyone that has already helped. And welcome to the headquarters. Do you remember how in late February we already talked about a Russian assault on Krasnoyarivka? A pretty spectacular attack across open
she's the bartender up at the Prospector, kind of the town mom.
Pro-Ukrainian sources,
she likes to meet newcomer. She'd be cross with me if I didn't ask you to poke her.
According to pro-Russian sources, they have reached all the way up to the street. Time will tell. Well, turns out the Ukrainian report was correct. The Russian assault squads were in fact repulsed by the Ukrainian counterattack. However, 1 month later, with the departure of the Azov Brigade, Krasnoyarivka returned into the crosshairs of the Russian command. This time, the idea was spending more time finding and suppressing Ukrainian strongholds all over the city before launching the attack. For example, on the 26th of March, the Russians detected this Ukrainian anti-tank guided missile system on the last floor of this apartment block, which was then destroyed by an FPV drone. And in terms of artillery, the Russians applied the vodka principle, never in moderation. This is when Putin's orchestra started the symphony, with helicopter strikes, the daily artillery bombardments,
Southeast of here is
and
Prim.
FAB
Can't miss it.
1500
Since it has the giant old
smashing
roller coaster
entire
right in the middle of
compounds.
town.
Now the
The
Russian
NCR's got an
5th
outpost there.
Motorized Rifle
If you follow the
Brigade
road
in
north,
charge
you'll
of the
eventually hit Sloan and Quarry
Krasnoyarivka
Junction.
sector was slowly
I wouldn't head that
starting
direction
to
if I were
shape
you, though.
the battlefield.
Got critters up there
Here
that
you
don't
can
take
see
kindly to
drones of
get...
the 3rd Battalion, 80th Air Assault Brigade harassing a Russian infantry unit during a rotation in the vicinity of the Trudovskaya mine. This happened right here on the map, so we can assume the Ukrainians noticed a concentration of enemy forces in the sector. Keep in mind that there were 4 sectors of utmost importance for the successful defense of Krasnoyarivka. We start with Sector Tatiana, which secures the logistics line in and out of the city. Problem for the Russians is that an attack from the north is not suitable for mechanized assault due to the open terrain and the need to cross over the Lozova River. Then we have combat position Hana for the large industrial area in the middle of Krasnoyarivka, followed by Sector Irina for the easternmost set of houses, and lastly Chelsea for this residential sector on the southern outskirts of the city. As you can see behind me, on April 1st, drone operators of the Ukrainian 109th Territorial Defense Brigade damaged an IFV right next to some trench network. This drone strike was geolocated right along this tree line, only a couple hundred meters away from Krasnoyarivka. Once again, this could confirm that the Russians were indeed bringing in massive reinforcements. Lastly, on the 6th of April, we see this video of Russian artillery shelling Ukrainian infantrymen entrenched in the southern part of Krasnoyarivka. Everything pointed towards a renewed Russian assault right here at the exact same spot where they attacked a month earlier. When in doubt, double tap. And surprise, surprise, this is exactly what happened on the 8th of April. At once, Russian artillery batteries pounded Chelsea like no tomorrow and unleashed a storm of steel on any Ukrainian strongholds and armored vehicles deployed on the outer perimeter of Krasnoyarivka. The goal was to pin down enemy forces while the first wave drove into battle. At first, we see a column of 6 Russian armored vehicles rush forward at full speed. This means they left the cover of this forest and urban agglomeration, and this is the location they were detected by the Ukrainians. Right at the spot where this tree line stands, the Russian column separated in 2 groups of 3. One unit advanced between this tree line and the railway line up until this dacha area, where they then fired at these buildings right here, whereas the second unit pushed diagonally across the open field. That's when the Ukrainian drone operators spotted an additional 6 Russian armored vehicles driving at full speed. So at this point we have 3 Russian BMPs right here and 9 on the other side of the railway line. Here's the same itinerary of the attack, but from a north-south perspective of the battlefield. As you can see, the BMPs eventually disembarked their infantry component, and we can confirm at least 3 of these BMPs having been destroyed during the initial assault. This is when the Russians unleashed their secret weapon. Yet another column of 4 armored vehicles appeared on the horizon.
Hi there.
Lea Boltan, is it vodka or I see big ninja turtle incoming? The Russians nicknamed this war machine Tsar Mangal, literally the Tsar's barbecue grill. In fact, it was a T-72 tank with a huge box, some sort of cage, protecting the top and the sides. This design was specifically made to counter FPV drone strikes. This is what happens when you let DPR coal miners with too much time on their hands. This reinforcement column also appeared from there, but then immediately branched off diagonally. The column pushed ahead and bypassed the Trudovskaya
Howdy,
line.
partner.
Here we can
Might
see the
I
Tsar
say
tank
you're
providing
looking
direct
fit as
fire
a fiddle?
support for the rest of the column. Quickly after, they reached the first houses of Krasnoyarivka. As you can see at this point, Ukrainian artillery fire
Don't mention it.
intensified.
I'm always ready to lend a
Direct hit
helping
on the
hand.
Tsar tank. Normal.
I
You
was
can
out
also
for a
see how
stroll
close the
that
ammunition
night
was
when I
used
heard
to
the
prevent
commotion
the
up
enemy
the
from
old
disembarking
bone
the
orchard.
troops.
So
But it
it
was
looked
too
like a
late.
bunch of
By
bad
the time the
eggs,
Ukrainian
so I laid
artillery
low.
responded to
Once
the
they'd
attack,
run off,
Russian
I dug
infantry
you
had
up to see
already
if you were
left
still
the
kicking.
IFVs
Turns
and
out
ran
you were.
towards the ruins
So I
for
hauled you.
cover. As you can see on this
Can't
map,
say that I'm
this
familiar
assault
with the
allowed the
rascals.
Russian armed
Some of the fine
forces to
folks in
regain
town
a
might be able to
foothold
help you
inside
out with it.
Krasnoyarivka, with dozens of
I'm
riflemen
always
pushing
in
across
town
the
on
residential
10,
sector.
15
Although
years
less
ago.
spectacular over the
Before-
course of the day,
Anyway,
a continuous
it's
streams
right
of
piece from
BMPs, either individually or in small batches of
I'm a
2,
security
came
tron.
in and out of the
Rocco
battlefield
Security
to
Model
disembark
26
their
to be.
infantry components.
If you ever see any
Since
of
we
my
don't have the
brothers
entire
throwing
video
big
of the
yourselves
attack,
happy.
it's very hard to estimate actually how many Russians managed to infiltrate Ukrainian positions. These
Howdy.
latest Russian gains were confirmed the
Happy
next
trails.
day by the following drone footage of this Ukrainian artillery fire on this IFV and on this multi-level building, geolocated right here on the map. By the way, the Ukrainians were so salty at the Tsar tank that they followed it and grilled its entire hiding spot. One troubling observation is the lack of any sort of detonation from minefields to halt Russian armored columns. It's as if the Russian attack columns knew exactly where to bypass the minefields. And this is something I noticed all across the front, and a situation that should worry the Ukrainian command and that should thoroughly be analyzed. After the initial assault, heavy street-to-street fighting followed, especially in that dacha area that was sort of left behind during the assault. The Ukrainian command in Krasnoyarivka understood that they had to counterattack immediately, but with what reserves? Here you can see 2 Ukrainian Humvees from the 109th Territorial Defense Brigade advancing as they used their 50 cal machine guns for suppressive fire. Each vehicle disembarked a fire team of about 5 men, tasked with clearing the buildings in front of them. Once this was accomplished, all the soldiers ran to the vehicles and they all withdrew from the contact line. The Ukrainians also tried to stem the flow of enemy reinforcements pouring in, like these drone-dropping grenades that ambushed this Russian fire team right as they exited from the BMP. As for the Russians to provide fire support for assault squads, they fired their 2S4 Tulpan 240mm self-propelled heavy mortars, destroying one enemy position after another. In the days following the attack, positional combat continued. However, it became imperative for the Russian command to secure the Dacha area in order to prevent the bridgehead they captured from being encircled by enemy troops. Here from the 14th of April, you can see Russian infantry squads come and clear the houses one by one. And the only thing the Ukrainians could do was to harass them with FPV drones, or through very precise artillery shelling. Problem is, this last set of strikes were geolocated 600 meters ahead of the initial landing zone, right across from the railway station. This means by the 15th of April, Russian forces possibly controlled all this area of Krasnomarivka. On a side note, let's not forget the people actually fighting there. I stumbled on a post with names of Ukrainian soldiers that fell for the defense of Krasnomarivka. Here, 34-year-old Yevhen Dmitrenko from Lugansk fell in Krasnomarivka on the 15th of April. 37-year-old Mykola Isayev from Lipovets fell on the 10th of April. 29-year-old Volodymyr Sachinov from Richiv KIA on the 8th of April. Thoughts and prayers for their family.
None of your damn business.
What made Ukrainian counterattacks difficult, just like in Chasiv, was Russian aviation. On April 15th alone, 6 Russian attack helicopters fired a total of 240 unguided rockets at the enemy. This clearly shows the impact of Ukraine's lack of air defense capabilities. And if they don't find a solution,
never been there since the NCR's got troops all over it.
On April 16th, the situation on the front line became a bit clearer. It was actually this grouping on the northern side of the railway line that managed to reach the train station. Meanwhile, we can assume the sector here remained in the gray zone. Behind me, you can see what this residential sector actually looks like from a bird's eye perspective.
You've been causing quite a stir. Glad I finally got to meet you. Welcome to the Prospector Saloon.
From the rest of the city. By the way, all this time, according to the
looks like our
mapping
little
of
town got itself dragged into the middle of something we don't
the
want.
Russians had not even
About a week ago, this traitor Ringo comes into town.
What type
Survivor
of
of an
scam
attack, he says.
is this?
Bad men
Ukrainian
after him.
reinforcements
We
did
figured
seem
he
to
was
have
just in
arrived,
shock,
but it was
so we gave
too
him a place to
little,
lie
too
low.
late.
We didn't actually
Unfortunately
expect
for this
anyone.
Ukrainian fire team, they stood no
Some of the
chance
others,
as
like
they were
Sonny, will
spotted
probably
by
stand up for
FPV
Ringo if he
drones
asks for
using
help,
thermal
which he hasn't.
imagery. This is when the commanders of the 5th Brigade
He's holed up at
decided
the
to
abandoned
launch
gas
phase
station up
2 of their offensive. Here, from the perspective of a Ukrainian drone, you see
You mean
7
murdering?
Russian armored
That's not our
vehicles
way, even if
separated
Cobb is
into
scum.
columns.
He can
One of
bluster
3
and threaten.
one of 4. The second one being led by a tank. Just like during the previous assaults, they drove by the Trudovskaya mine and then branched off across this field. But this time, they didn't stop at the first
There's
houses.
always something
One column did land its infantry.
If you were
but
able to
another
get Ringo out of
continued
this
another
mess, you'd have a
500
decent
meters
reputation
under
around
enemy
Good
fire
Springs.
up until
I'd even
the
say,
area of the
of course,
train
helping
station.
Ringo would also
And
make
it's
the
only
powder
then
gangers
that all the
mad.
riflemen
And they've got a
exited the
lot of
vehicles.
friends.
To avoid being trapped and detected by enemy drones, this
Don't know
Russian
why you want
tank
to do a thing
simply
like that.
rammed right
Yep,
into the
you'd get on their good
perimeter
side, but
wall
people around
in
here
order
wouldn't
to
appreciate-
open a new path. And in the end, if the Pervomaivka district was marked as being
Not
in
much.
the gray zone up
Of course, one of the
until
great
now,
cons
at
did
this
knock
point,
my
we
radio
cannot
to the
deny
floor.
that it was occupied by Russian troops. During this latest push, Russian detachments cleared the eastern side of March 8th.
They were having some kind of
Shkolnaya
argument
and
about it, but the guy in the checkered
streets,
coat kept
whereas
shushing
fighting
them.
continued on
Sounded
the
like they
western
came in from the
half.
north through
Here,
Quarry
Russian drone
Junction.
operators
If
of
that's the case,
238th
I can't say I
Artillery
blame them for
Brigade
not wanting to go
surged
back.
and destroyed this T-72M1
That whole area
right
is
at
overrun
this
with the kind of
location
critters that
on
just
the
get
map.
mad if you
The
shoot.
Russians were getting
Merchants
lucky
avoid that
with
whole
Chelsea,
stretch of
and at this
I-15 like
point,
it's
it seemed
radioactive,
the Ukrainians
which it
were
could be
losing
for all.
control of the entire southern part of the town.
I didn't hear exactly,
Even
but
worse
the
for
leader was talking about this
Ukraine. No
fellow wants
attack
to
on
get there and avoid the
Krasnomarivka is
15.
complete
He'd have to go
without
east.
the intervention of a Tsar tank. What's crazy is that this medieval battering
Sure,
ram
the
literally
outside
drove
looks okay,
over
but
1,000
I think
meters on its
there'd
own
be caps in it for
up
you.
until what the Russians call the refractory plant. And then it came
It
back.
acts friendly enough,
Russian
but I don't
Telegram
trust that
said
whole
at
cheerful
first
cowboy
the
act.
Ukrainians mocked this beast
Other than
of a
rolling
tank.
around once in a
Because of
while,
its
it doesn't
low
do
tank,
anything
because
useful.
It was totally ineffective for tank duels. But
It
they
was here when
stopped
I took over the
giggling when they
saloon,
saw the Tsar tank clearing minefields, bringing in infantry, jamming drones with
Mostly
its
traders
electronic
looking to buy
warfare
bighorn or
assets,
meat and
and simply destroying FPV after FPV in droves.
I'm pretty sure the
Not only
NCR
that,
wants to
but
hold on to the
regular
dam
Russian
because
tanks
it's one
are
of the
now
few
tuned
places
and
around that can
upgraded
make
with
electricity.
cages and camouflage
The Legion are a
nests,
bunch of
like
savages,
this
though.
T-72B3
No idea why
tank
they'd
you
want
can
the
see
dam.
on screen.
Probably plan on destroying it or something.
The next day, on the 17th, assault detachments started making some progress along Lermontov Street and Zherezhnodorozhnaya Street, as well as on the other side of the railway line along Ulitsa Vatutina, a street named after the famous Soviet general Nikolai Vatutin. Once again, some Ukrainian reinforcements were stopped by Russian artillery fire. At the same time, the Russian command now faced a new problem. The Ukrainian defense of Krasnohorivka was solidified in the central district due to high-rise buildings like these ones, and especially this massive industrial area. So assault squads
Feeling
of
thirsty?
the 5th Brigade will have
Yeah, I
no
heard
choice
it
but
turned-
to carry on attacks from the south, essentially
Not
frontal
at all.
attacks.
I'm never
But they
sure
can
how
also
much is
try
normally
to
charged for
expand
this
their
sort of thing.
area of
Here's some
control
addition-
from the east. Now, how does the Battle of Krasnohorivka play into the big scheme of things? Well, here is Krasnohorivka in the middle of what we call the Donetsk front. The battle around
Howdy.
Avdiivka is also part of this front, but it is located 25 kilometers to the northeast. Overall, from an operational perspective, we can expect the Russian command's objective to be the Vovcha River, which they hope to reach in 3 axes: Pervomaivske, Krasnohorivka, and Heorivka. So let's start north of Krasnohorivka in Pervomaivske. According to the latest reports, the 9th Brigade of the DPR claims to have fully secured the settlement. Is it true? Is it not true? Let's have a look. On the 6th of April, Russian riflemen were getting harassed in this part of the settlement by swarms of FPV drones. Now, the next day, on the 7th of April, Ukrainian drone operators detected enemy BMPs disembarking infantry, which were quickly bombarded by very precise artillery fire. And of course, this is the only thing that was shared on social media to show that
That's close
Ukraine
enough.
was still winning.
Who are
The thing
you?
is,
What-
this artillery strike was geolocated 1,500 meters ahead of the contact line. And this latest push forced the last pockets of Ukrainian troops to abandon the building standing
Sorry about
next to the front.
we got off to a bad
The Russian
start.
capture of Pervomaivske was confirmed on April 9th, with the following Russian flag raising geolocated
Yeah.
right here. on
He
the
doesn't
map,
look very
at
tough.
the western end
I'll have-
of the settlement. Now keep in mind that it took over 5 months, maybe more, for the Russian army to capture this stronghold. Now the Russian plan could be to straighten the front line by eliminating the Ukrainian troops in this pocket. After that, the plan could be to storm Netailove and then bring the battle to Karlivka and the Vovcha River. At this rate, we'll talk about this battle by the end of the year.
What is it?
Now, if we go south of Krasnohorivka,
I'm gonna
in
lay low for as long
Heorivka,
as I can,
we mostly
assuming the
face
town doesn't throw me to
positional
the wall.
fighting, with Russian assault squads trying to grind their way forward. But
We
overall,
just end
the
up sharing the
Ukrainians
same
still
grave.
hold the line. Here from the 20th of March, we see Ukrainian FPV drone strikes on a Russian mechanized unit geolocated right here.
I was
This
thinking to
means
myself,
it was attacked 400 meters in front of the contact line. And then we have this video from the 25th
Start with sunny
of
smiles.
Russian mortars bombarding various Ukrainian trench networks in the same
So what's
sector.
going on?
So we have
Did Sonny
every
agree to
reason
help?
to believe the next Russian objective would be to clear this sector. And if they succeed in this mission, they will only need to conquer another 2.3 kilometers of Heorivka. To me, it seems clear that in both Pervomaivske and Heorivka, that the Russians didn't deploy many troops for the complete capture of the settlement, hence the very slow rate of advance. So in a way, if these are only secondary axes of attack, one can wonder where will the main attack come from. I also wanted to tell you about this situation in Avdiivka, but it's pretty important, so I will keep it for another video. That's all I have for you today. Let me know in the comment section what you thought of my analysis. If you're new to this channel, make sure to like and subscribe. And if you want to support my work, make sure to check out my Patreon and PayPal. The links are in the description below.
Hi there, sticking around. Say no more. Joe Cobb talks about leaving us alone if we hand over Ringo, but I know his type. He and his friends will come after the town. However, between you, me, and Ringo, if... A silver tongue would help. Convincing Trudy that we had a good plan to win the fight. I don't think give is in Chet's vocabulary. Even with the town at stake, he'd still make you barter with him. Easy Pete's pretty protective of his dynamite. You'd have to convince him you know a thing or two about I'll be waiting.
So you're planning on taking on Joe Cobb's gang. It's a big risk. I was planning on sitting this one out, but for some reason, I can't help. Let me have a word with a few other folks, and I'll see if I can't round up some more members for this militia you're creating. While everyone does own a gun...
Howdy. What? Was a prospector until I decided to settle here to get away from the NCR. Now, too dangerous. Gonna kill all yourselves if I let you touch it. Better to leave it buried. Too dangerous. Sorry. Blow yourself up. Blow your... Too dangerous. The one in... Where the... Nah. Means I poke through old buildings looking for working... Way I see it, salvage means it's broken. Nope. Had a pretty good claim once, way out east by the river, but got run off by raiders. Eventually... Don't get me wrong, the NCR's got a lot of decent folk in it. It's just towns like Good Springs and Prim don't stay independent for long. Not if you've got something the NCR wants. Still, the NCR... They're slavers, led by a guy named... The Machine? Armored. The dam powers a lot of New Vegas. And then there's all that clean water lying in Lake Mead, too. Anybody who owns the dam. Meat and hide...
I'll keep an eye out for the powder gangers.
So what's going on? Did Sonny agree to... Well, I guess that means... Oh.
Time to look alive. The powder gangers are here to play. At least 6. Joe Cobb included. They look... I'll be...
whoa! Careful! Can't do business now, there's a gunfight.
Watch out.
I owe you a huge favor for... I did have what was left of the Crimson Caravan money, but I wasn't sure if... I owe you... Thanks again for all your help. It's a two-player game, and the winner takes the whole pie. It's why you won't see Caravan in any casino. Too slow-paced. Here, take this holotape. It goes into more specifics about the rules. So... just keep an eye out for him while you travel. I've... Thanks again for all your help. I've never stopped.
Howdy. That'll teach the Until next time.
Thanks again for all your help. Yeah.
I'm glad that business is... Be careful out there.
Hey there.
That ought to keep things...
That was a hell.
Welcome back. I had hoped you wouldn't need to come see me again. I don't...
Howdy. Happy trails. Howdy, partner.
Hey, feeling thirsty? Thanks. Be careful.
Howdy.
you